Even if you don't know much about Greek mythology, you've probably heard of Prometheus. He stole fire from the gods, gave it to man, and was punished for that by being tied up on the side of a mountain with an eagle eating out his liver every day for 30,000 years, give or take. But that's not all he did. He did a lot more than that, and I'm going to go through that for you, because why not? In order to understand Prometheus' story, you need to go back a bit to the beginning of the mythology to put him in context. He was one of the Titans, that is to say he was a contemporary of Kronos, the generation of gods before the Olympians. Kronos had usurped his father Uranos and taken over from him. It was then prophesied that one of his sons would take over from Kronos, so Kronos ate all his children. Zeus then fought his way out of Kronos and got all his siblings out, and then there was a big war called the Titanomachy, which was about a 10-year war fought in central Greece in the mythology between the Olympians and the Titans. But not all of the Titans sided with Kronos. In fact, some of them stayed neutral, and some of them sided with Zeus. Prometheus was one of the ones that sided with Zeus. His brother Atlas sided with Kronos and was forced to hold up the sky forevermore as a result. But Prometheus didn't. Most of the Titans, after the war, were sent down to Tartarus, this underworld equivalent realm. It's not quite the whole underworld, but it's good enough. Anyway, also, after the Titanomachy, the Fates spoke to Prometheus, and they told him of a prophecy about Zeus. Much as Zeus had usurped his father Kronos, and Kronos had usurped his father Uranos, Zeus was to be the father of someone who would become greater and more powerful than he, and Zeus obviously didn't want that. And what the Fates told Prometheus was who would be the mother of this child. And Prometheus swore a vow of secrecy. He would never tell anyone. Zeus obviously wanted him to know, but Prometheus wouldn't tell. Anyway, all the animals and humans and so forth are being created after the war. And Prometheus and his brother Epimetheus have been tasked with doling out the traits to the creatures. By traits, I mean, the hair, the claws, the big bushy mane, the whip, the kind of things like that. And Prometheus, his name literally means foresight, or etymology kind of means that anyway. And his brother Epimetheus means almost the exact opposite, a lack of foresight, almost impulsiveness. So Prometheus has been giving these traits out, and he lets his brother Epimetheus finish this off. For some strange reason, anyway. Why would you let the less foresighted person do the last bit? But sure. Anyway, Epimetheus is doling these traits out, giving them out left, right and centre, and then there's only man left to give traits out to. And he looks in this bag of all the traits, and there's cock all in there, really. There's absolutely nothing. So he's like, oh, crap. Prometheus comes back, and you can't send man out there into this world that's really, really dangerous because all these animals have all these survival traits, and man has nothing. So Prometheus comes up with a little bit of a cunning plan, and then he decides to sneak up onto Mount Olympus. He goes into Hephaestus' forge, Hephaestus being the god of fire, described in some cases ugly and hideously deformed. He sneaks into the forge, there's no one there, and he nicks a bit of its fire. That's not the famous bit. He then goes into Athena's area and steals some wit and some cunning and some socialisation. Gives all these traits to the humans to allow them to build civilizations and think themselves and have a bit of smarts. Gods find out, and they're not too really happy about it, actually. They don't like being stolen from. Gods are incredibly petty, and, now Zeus is always going to be quite lenient with Prometheus, partly because Prometheus has information that Zeus wants to know in terms of who's going to be the mother of the child that's going to usurp him, and secondly, in terms of not siding with his father in the Titan monarchy. So he's quite lenient here. And Prometheus managed to sort of get a wily tongue in with winged words and placate them a bit. Saying, well, hang on, I did this. I gave them these I gave them fire and all these traits so that they could worship you. Yeah, that's why I did it. I definitely did it so they could worship you. And the gods buy this. No, yeah, that's cool. I'll let the worshipping begin. So Prometheus gets away scot-free on that one. Actually, there's a point. Prometheus, in his name as well, may have ties etymologically to the Vedic myth of the theft of fire, where Matarisvan stole fire using a Pramantha, I think it was. A Pramantha, which was the term used for the torch used to steal fire in the Vedic myth, and there's a possible etymological link between Pramantha and Prometheus. It's tenuous at places, but it's possible if you go back through a Proto-Indo-European route. Bit irrelevant, but nice little sidebar. Anyway, so humans are spreading out at this point. Never try and apply a timeline to Greek mythology, of course, but at some point Prometheus has a son called Deucalion. Some sources cite that Prometheus' own mother was Deucalion's mother as well, but there are also two other names listed as possibly Deucalion's mother, so who it was, we don't know. Probably not his mother, actually. That's got the least attested names. That might have just been a mix-up in terms of how it was recorded, but... and it comes to a time where Zeus is saying, okay, I want the humans that said they're going to worship me. I want them to give me their entire cow, effectively. Give me all their cows. I want them to sacrifice their whole cow as worship. And Prometheus, keeping an eye out for the humans, sort of says, that's a bit unfair, because I no one have anything to eat. How about this? I've got an idea. We'll divide it between you. And what I'll do, I've got an idea. I'll be back in a moment. He goes back down off of Mount Olympus, gets a couple of cows, slaughters them, and he makes up two parcels. Comes back to Zeus at Mycone, I believe it is. This is mentioned in Theogony that this happens. And at Mycone, he gives Zeus these two parcels. One is... it looks like entrails. It's offal, and you can't see what's inside either parcel. The other one, he's got this nice fur wrapped around it and so forth, and he says to Zeus, do you swear on the sticks that whichever of these parcels you pick will be what humans have to sacrifice to you and they can keep the rest for themselves? Zeus, not known for his foresight, and so in Theogony, Hesiod states that Zeus knew which one was which, because obviously there's a trick going on here, but other sources sort of differ, and whether Hesiod was sort of trying to placate Zeus in that respect when writing it and pay homage to him, well, it's never going to be clear. Anyway, these two parcels, Zeus says, okay, I swear by the sticks. When a Olympian swears by the sticks, they cannot go back on it, effectively. No real reason why, they just can't. And obviously he picks the one that's nicely done up with the furs and so forth, opens it up, it's got a load of bones and all the offcuts no one wants. The other one gets opened up, that's got all the nice cuts of meat, the choice prime meats. Zeus is obviously not going to go back on his word. He said, okay, fine, no, humans only have to sacrifice the offcuts of the animal to me, they can keep all the nice meat, that's fine. I'm going to take their fire off him, though, so have that. Because he was getting a bit annoyed with Prometheus at this point, and he knew Prometheus had a soft spot for the humans. So taking their fire from a little bit of an indirect punishment, good enough. Prometheus, seeing that humanity no longer has this fire that he gave them, and they're sort of now struggling a bit, comes up with another cunning plan. He's going to steal them back fire again, and this is the one he gets famous for, because of the sheer fucking absurdity of how he does it. First off, he gets a pear. In some cases, an apple or a golden pear or so forth, but it's a small fruit. he writes a little note and attaches it to it, and the note says, "For the most beautiful goddess." And then he yeets it onto Mount Olympus, right in the middle. And the goddesses obviously will see this, pick it up and look at it and say, "Oh, for the most beautiful goddess. Well, this surely must mean me." Presumably Athena says that first, or maybe Aphrodite or Demeter or something. And they get into a little bit of a scrap about this, fighting over who is the most beautiful goddess, which later down the line would have also be the start of the Trojan War, but not in this particular time. But they were very, very picky, or very, very proud about who was going to be the most beautiful. They never wanted to accept that Aphrodite very clearly was, because she's the fucking goddess of beauty, but you know. Anyway, whilst this all happening, the gods are watching on because they just want to watch a load of women fight, and I can say that since the Greek myths, nothing has changed, apparently, based on my browser history anyway. But, I should cut that one out. Prometheus uses this as a distraction and climbs up Mount Olympus and gets out a stick of fennel. Giant fennel, actually, but stick of fennel anyway, and holds it up to the sun and sets it on fire from the sun. Yeah, he doesn't just steal fire, he steals it off the fucking sun, then runs back down to Mount Olympus, specifically down to Athens, actually, and starts lighting all the humans' torches and fires for them. This is actually why Prometheus, the torch-bearing relay in Athens, classically was done from the shrine of Prometheus at first. Just that's sort of the connection on that one. Zeus isn't obviously happy about this. He finds out very, very quickly that all the humans have got fire again. So he calls up Prometheus and says, "Right, I've had enough of this. Either you tell me who is going to bear me a child to you that will usurp me or become greater than me, or I'm going to punish you." And Prometheus says, "No, my lips are sealed. I'm not telling you that. I can't tell you that. I told the fates I wouldn't. My lips are sealed." So, okay, punishment it is. Zeus calls over Hephaestus, and says, "Right, you and my two bodyguards, you're going to take Prometheus out into Scythia, onto the Caucasus Mountains, chain him up there, and yeah, see how that one goes." So Hephaestus isn't too happy about that, really. He doesn't mind Prometheus. They've gotten along quite well. But Zeus's two bodyguards, Kratos and Baia, the personifications of strength and power, is it? Something like that. They sort of manhandle Prometheus out to Scythia, and this is where Aeschylus's play Prometheus Bound, the trilogy. We don't actually have the third one, but we have Prometheus Bound and Prometheus Unbound. We don't have Prometheus the Fire Seal, or Fire Thief rather, but Aeschylus wrote a dramatised trilogy of plays about this. And this is where Prometheus Bound starts in media res, with Hephaestus chaining down Prometheus, with Kratos and Baia standing guard. Prometheus always been god of the forge. He creates these unbreakable chains that chain down Prometheus. And as they walk away, there's a giant eagle that comes down and starts eating Prometheus's liver all day, every day, and then his liver is restored overnight. Some sources say this was by the power of Atlas, who was Prometheus' brother, but it doesn't really make clear why, or does Atlas have control over the liver for some reason? I couldn't find a source on that one. But the Greeks did actually believe in mythology that the liver was the source of the soul and emotion and feeling and so forth, so him having his liver eaten out every day and then restored, it's very, very tragic fate, or meant to be. Anyway, he gets left there to have that happen every day. He's burning at day, then have his liver eaten out, then freezing overnight and having his liver restored, and then it all happens again and again and again. But Zeus has decided this is not punishment enough. No, he's going to punish the humans as well, despite the fact they didn't actually do anything wrong this time. But he's going to punish them. So he has Hephaestus and Athena create another creature out of clay, much like the humans were, and he calls this one Woman. Genuinely, particularly he gives this particular woman a name, which I'll get to in a minute. But the woman is decked out in beautiful fine jewellery by Athena and given lots of cunning and guile and fairly the ability to manipulate people, which is probably a metaphor that doesn't age very well in today's society. But Zeus, it's stated that when all the gods first looked upon this woman, even they were under a bit of an effect by it. So Zeus decides he's going to send this woman down to Earth. But before Prometheus was chained up, by the way, he spoke to his brother and said, "Don't accept any gifts from Zeus. This is only going to end badly for me. Don't accept any gifts from him." But of course, Prometheus, not known for foresight, and does accept a gift from Zeus. This gift being the woman. Zeus sort of says, "Hey buddy, you want to get married to this beautiful, beautiful woman?" "Yeah, sure. What can possibly go wrong?" Well, if I tell you this woman's name, you can kind of guess what's going to go wrong. This woman that was created as a punishment for mankind was called Pandora. And you know where this story goes from here. She was given, they have this lavish wedding, and one of the presents she was given at a wedding is a box. Okay, it's not a box. It is not a box. It's not. I know everyone calls it Pandora's fucking box, but it is not a box. It's a vase, effectively, a great big wine vase. As a mistranslation, the ancient Greek term for box is pyxis, and the word that was actually there was pithos, which was the large wine vessel. They'd be about, I don't know, yay tall, and sometimes, so what, about 5 foot tall, maybe a bit, yeah. Massive wine vessel. She's told not to open, but Pandora's pithos doesn't have the same ring to it, or Pandora's vase. It doesn't sound as good as Pandora's box. So anyway, she's told never to open it. Of course, she does. Outflies loads of plagues and ills on humanity. She closes it just in time to find, and looks in there again to find hope at the bottom. Though hope might be a mistranslation, because you could make it a lot more tragic if it gets translated as false expectation or unbased expectation. Really adds a bit of a downer to it, doesn't it? Anyway, that happens. On the similar time, this is mentioned in Prometheus Bound, actually, in the play. Prometheus, whilst on the High Mountain, gets visited by Io, who is being pursued by Zeus, because Zeus is a horny bastard and wants to fuck anything that moves. And he tells her how to really hide from Zeus, and that Zeus will catch up with her in Egypt. And as thanks, it's sort of revealed that one of her descendants will be the one to free Prometheus. There's not really any. This might be an anachronistic thing that was added in by Aeschylus. There's not really any other sources in the myth for this being a thing, but this is then fairly foreshadowing in the plays for when Io's 13th removed grandchild frees Prometheus. Spoiler alert, by the way. That 13th removed grandchild being Heracles, the very famous Heracles, or Hercules if you prefer. I don't. But anyway, then another thing happens for... remember I said Prometheus had a son, Deucalion. Now, Deucalion and his wife, whose name I can't remember, they were living quite happily, except humans had sort of stopped worshipping, really. Society was getting too big for them. They'd stopped respecting the gods. Zeus, again, being petty, didn't like that. And through the grapevine, shall we say, Prometheus hears of what Zeus plans to do, which is send down a massive flood to wipe out humanity. So from his chained up spot on the mountains, he shouts out to his son, he says, "Oi, Deucalion!" And Deucalion hears him because Prometheus has got really good lungs and can shout really, really, really far, and apparently no one else heard him, but fine. And says, "Build a big boat." Not one to question his father. Deucalion does. Waters rise, and depending on which version of the myth and where in Greece you are, you'll hear various different versions as to which mountain they go to rest upon. I like the Mount Athos one in Halkidiki, just because I like Halkidiki, it's a beautiful little area. But yeah, there's about 4 or 5 different mountains. Mount Parnassus is another one. Doesn't really matter which mountain it was. Waters recede, and Deucalion and his wife restart humanity. Yes, it's equivalently the Greek version of Noah's Ark, except the animals weren't saved, but they still survived anyhow. I don't know. There's obviously also then links to the Sumerian myth as well, but that's a story for another day. After that, much time later, Prometheus gets freed by Hercules. Hercules, after his Herculean labours and so forth, meets Prometheus for some reason or another, and frees him. Prometheus actually does then reveal who the mother of Zeus's progeny who will usurp him is, and it's Thetis. So Zeus calls off his marriage to Thetis, decides not to hook up with her. Thetis then very famously marries Peleus and becomes the mother of Achilles, who is described as being an equal of Zeus in combat skill, and is equal to the gods in if not actually superior to the gods in terms of in places. So the prophecy still kind of becomes true there, in that she does give birth to someone who becomes greater than Zeus, but it's sort of an iffy trick around fate as well there, which doesn't really happen in Greek mythology either. The fate is sort of set. Hence, Kronos being overtaken by his son despite eating all his children, Oedipus marrying his mother and killing his father despite trying not to, being sent away and so forth. But that's it. That's the story of Prometheus. There's not really much more that happens with him. Like, he appears in little bits in other myths. He's the person that hit Zeus over the head with an axe to allow Zeus to give birth to Athena through the wound. Jason and the Argonauts hear his screams, and in some version of myth use that to navigate a bit, which is horrifying. Prometheus was apparently there for 30,000 years, which is a hell of a long time to have your liver eaten every day. That doesn't sound pleasant at all. But that's Prometheus, the fire thief.